Good morning, welcome to the AutoTalk weekly wrap. I've gone and shown the old Sting again. I've got to delete that so I stop showing some old logos. But anyway, we are in the field today. We are in the back office at Croydon Wholesalers out in West Auckland.
Live in the war room.
And joining me, and not shouting so loud into his mic, is the excitable Graham McDonald. Thanks for joining us, Graham. How's business? Are you surviving?
Yeah, business is actually pretty good. Most dealers we talk to are saying the same thing. There are plenty of people on the ground looking around. I mean, look, we don't want to draw light upon people's misfortune when it comes to Cyclone Gabriel and the flood events that had happened in Auckland about why they're shopping out for motor vehicles. But let's be honest, there's a lot of replacement vehicles needed on the ground, and people's insurance payments are now coming through, and we're seeing a lot of people shopping. And unfortunately, that comes at a time when we'll talk about it later, a real shortage of stock on the ground to actually purchase. And so the difficulty for us is actually having enough cars to suit the people that are out there shopping.
No. And look, we should touch on that. I mean, obviously we spoke about it last week, but things are still going pretty badly out there, I think, in the Napier and Hastings area and up at the East Coast, Gisborne, Wairoa. Look, if you're stuck in it, we feel for you, and hopefully you're getting the assistance you need and your staff are all safe and you're looking to a future where business can get back to normal. Look, if there's any stories out there from that area that you guys want told through AutoTalk, then please do drop me a line, richard@automediagroup.co.nz. There might be great work being done by your dealership or by your team to help others in the area, or things that you need that perhaps we can put out to the broader market. We're more than happy to listen and put those items out there into the world. It's amazing what a little bit of exposure can do. I'm not going to go poking around in there though. I don't want people thinking that we're rushing down there to do, for want of a better word, disaster porn stories. But if there is anything we can assist with, then please do let us know. Now, we're using new microphones today, so I think we've got one person watching. If that person watching could comment and let us know how we sound, because we could be sounding really like muffled or distorted or something. So hopefully the system is smart enough not to have us.
More so than our awkward sorts.
Yes, more so than normal. Let's carry on with the wrap. And if I bring up the first news item of the day and flick the things around here. Colonial reports strong half-year results despite economic headwinds. New Zealand-based Colonial Motor Company Limited has released its half-year results for the 6 months ended December 31, 2022. The company's trading profit before tax for the first half of the current financial year was $20.9 million, which was the second highest on record as anticipated in the most recent guidance update of December 2022. However, it was lower than the 2021 comparative period's results, but ahead of 2020. Total revenue was down 6.5%. All the company's trading divisions, so vehicles, heavy trucks and tractors, contributed strongly. Chair Ash Warg noted the company's investment in people and facilities and its support for long-term customer relationships proved to be a successful formula. He also acknowledged the growing economic uncertainty, the relatively low New Zealand dollar and the cost of living crisis. And I believe he says the vehicle shortage for the new car side is starting to ease, but the clean car regulations are starting to bite. And that, I guess, is definitely a case for someone like Colonial. They sell a lot of Fords, and I suspect last year would be a very good year to be a Ford dealer. This year could be a little different. I don't think they're going to have any great things, but certainly there would be a little bit more of a headwind trying to sell a fully, big engine Ranger into a market with a nice big clean car standard discount on it. Discount, not clean car discount penalty on it. It's funny they call it discount, but you're actually getting a penalty.
It's a penalty discount, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
No.
I don't think it matters at the moment. I think from Ford's perspective, and I'm not a Ford dealer, so please excuse me here, but I've heard that you can sell every single Ranger you can get across the water on a boat here, and you can sell every single Mustang you can get into the showroom. You can just pre-sell those. You can sell this is from Colonial's perspective. You can sell every single Kenworth they can screw together in Bayswater. I think there's like a 2-year waiting list for those. DAF trucks, which they have the inroads into with Southpack, they can sell every single one of those they can lay their hands on. So really, from Colonial's perspective, good time to be in business for the products they sell. You can see that reflected in the figures, obviously.
Now let's touch on your ongoing saga with a Ford dealer that isn't a Colonial Motor Company dealer. Have they called you back yet?
Nope. Car's sold. Someone else bought it, I guess. Not me. Never call me. I mean, come on, this is dealer 101 stuff, right? This absolutely amazes me. I think as dealers, we all do a little bit of shopping every now and then around the competition. It's healthy to do so. You should do so. This is actually a legitimate shopping trip. I went out there legitimately with money and a trade and an inquiry. But it also actually made me feel quite good when I came back and looked what we do here. And I'm not sort of saying we're holier than thou, but I would suspect 90% of the dealers, and probably all of you watching the show, because you're better dealers, because you watch things like this, shaking your head thinking this is just not the way business should be done.
And especially when you consider most new car dealerships, particularly one of that size, you would think would have a lead tracking system.
Well, apparently so. I mean, I filled out all the email forms. I think I said this last week. I filled out all the forms and sent my details away. Crickets. So there we are.
Right.
Never mind. We're going to move on to something else to buy, perhaps, just not their car because somebody else bought it anyway.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about dealers that are doing the right things. The Twitter would celebrate customer excellence and community spirit. Cook Hallinson Toyota from Dunedin won this Toyota Supreme Award at the Twitter and Lexus Business Excellence Awards held over the weekend. The Toyota Supreme Award is awarded for overall excellence in branch operations, market leadership, and branch facilities. There is fierce competition each year for the Toyota Supreme Award among the 64 Toyota and Lexus stores around the country. The Cook Hallinson has been a successful locally owned and operated business company since 1895 and prides itself on providing customers with an exceptional level of service in Balclutha and Dunedin. I might talk to my writers about the number of superlatives in there. Who wrote that story?
Well, it's good of a Toyota, right?
Oh, wait, it was me. It was me. Neeraj Lala, Toyota New Zealand's Chief Executive Officer, says the awards celebrate the achievements of the Toyota stores across the country and their contribution to keeping Toyota as the leading mobility brand in New Zealand. Everyone's a mobility brand now. In 2022, we not only held on to our number one slot against some tough competition and regulatory challenges, but we also successfully launched Let's Go Places, a new company vision focused on sustainability, mobility, and community. Lala says they're very clever at about driving cars rather than going to Mars.
That does sound very much like a Toyota press release to me.
Yeah. In announcing the awards, Lala acknowledged the impact of Cyclone Gabrielle on the store network and the severe impact on the Toyota and Lexus stores in the Hawke's Bay. Our thoughts are with our colleagues in Hawke's Bay and Gisborne as they struggle with a massive cleanup and restoration of their businesses and personal properties, he says. They did a new award in 2022, the Citizenship Award. It went to Ebbett Toyota for their Community Mover, a community van that is available to not-for-profit schools, local sports teams or other groups and organisations use free of charge as transportation for events. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Now, Subaru has acknowledged the contribution of two long-standing dealers. Subaru acknowledged the contribution of all its people while celebrating 50 years of all-wheel drive at a function in Auckland in February, but says two long-standing dealers in particular deserved special recognition. Wing Group owner Wayne Leach was presented with a Sustained Success Award recognising decades of growth and commitment as New Zealand's number one seller of Subaru vehicles. And Whareroto Village Managing Director Michael Farmer was presented with an Outstanding Performance Award for Subaru sales and customer experience from 2020 through to 2023. Maybe they didn't hold an award over the last few years because of COVID. All 17 Subaru authorised centres were awarded with a Tsuru, Japanese for Crane, Longevity and Good Fortune Award, which was also presented to the company's most long-standing employees. Those staff were,
I'm going to say it's a bit of a Subaru thing, isn't it? Subaru, I've always thought Subaru people, you're a special breed. I do like the Subaru product as well, but I think there's quite a lot of extra longevity in the people that work with Subaru. You become passionate about that particular product. You don't tend to see so much hopping around the brands from the teams. So Wayne Leach, look, he is...
I mean, Subaru, if you in the North Island, if you talk Subaru, you pretty much talk
Subaru.
You talk Winger.
Yeah,
so I'm going to get a Subaru from Wingers.
And when I was working in Hamilton in the early 90s, at that stage, when he was involved in the brand down there, and he was Mr. Subaru then, and he's kept that focus and passion all the way through, and good on him too, because he's built this fantastic business empire, as it were, that strayed, I guess, true to the vision and the goals right back there from the early 90s.
Now, I'm going to do a bit of a fishing expedition here.
Oh, here we go.
If you talk Subaru New Zealand, you're basically talking Inchcape New Zealand. And I've heard some rumours lately that Inchcape might be adding another brand or two to their remit here. And if anyone knows anything about that, then richard@automediagroup.co.nz. I'm happy to take tips or leads. I've got an idea, but I haven't managed to get to the bottom of it yet. But if you do know anything, flick me a line, privately or not, and we'll see where we can go with that. Now, let's get into something we kind of alluded to a second ago, and that is a few issues around getting cars onto yards.
Yeah.
An Australian port crisis is affecting New Zealand dealers. Automotive dealers in New Zealand confirm they are waiting for vehicles caught up in an Australian quarantine crisis, which is seeing ports there stack up and some ships unable to unload. Vehicle delivery delays are being caused as thousands of vehicles are stuck at Australian ports or offshore in a backlog waiting for quarantine clearance and checks for pests such as the brown-marmorated stink bug, usually November to February, snails, seeds, or soil and dried plant material, which present a risk to Australia's cultural and horticultural industries. The delays were confirmed by GVI Director and General Manager Hayden Johnson, who says vehicle stocks have run low as a result of the Australian situation. He says vehicles are usually shipped through China, Korea, Japan, Australia, and to New Zealand. But some come direct. A fair number come direct. At the last stop, we are facing delays, which started towards the end of last year and have worsened. They are hoping for resolution soon, perhaps even if the Australian federal government steps in. Johnson says he's selling almost everything he gets. Steve Dawes, who specialises in car transport, told drive.com.au it takes 24 hours working around the clock to unload a vessel, carrying 3,000 new cars, disembarking about 125 new cars per hour. Quarantine cleaning teams process at the rate of 9 an hour. So there's a bit of a gap there.
Yeah.
And they only work business hours.
Yes, they do.
So that is a bit of a problem. I believe it's also been exacerbated not just by the brown marmorated stink bug, but also there's been some seed contamination to vehicles specifically out of China.
And the fact that the Australian border inspection system in general is just an absolute it's an omni-shambles at every level.
How have we I've always kind of felt we had a fairly good supply of ships kind of running direct. I mean, where have we... Is that going to change from COVID, or?
I don't know. It's a good question to ask. I think as the Australian market's kicked up, and imports are partially to blame for this too, but also the on-road of EVs coming down from markets like China and things too that have created new pathways, if you like, new channels. As the import market gears itself up in Australia, obviously it makes more sense as a charter vessel to call into Brisbane first and then maybe into Sydney on its way to New Zealand. So what we knew 3 or 4 years ago in terms of shipping pathways, that has changed a lot.
So as someone who's involved in a name veer, you're to blame.
Oh, completely. Well, partially. But no, we do hear the same thing too. The new vehicle pathways. I'm not having a crack at the new vehicle industry here either, but it's how things work. The new vehicle pathways currently are where the and like anyone, we're just caught up, both in Australia and New Zealand, we're just caught up in the debris of that particular situation. Yeah. But it's not helped by the fact that they really are shambolic there on the ports. Every aspect of port structure in Australia appears to be designed to be as difficult as possible. And it's real problems. I mean, it's right at the time we need vehicles on the ground right now in New Zealand. We just don't have the stock.
Because there's demand. There's so many vehicles destroyed, and I mean, look, I don't want to give away anything here, but there's certainly out in West Auckland there might be a few dealerships that are looking a little thin on the ground.
I mean, well, you don't need to sort of look too far from one that we may be about 5 metres from right now, and we could swing several cats around at the moment. Good problem to have, I suppose, but we need to be selling stock now. And that's everywhere you look around here, the same sort of thing, big gaps in inventory.
Yep, and if you've got some Aquas going spare, give Graham a call, he'll hook you up.
Yeah, none of those nasty Scody accident damage things though. Thank you. No Trojan horses, thank you.
Exactly. Right, on to not a dodgy dealer, but a dealer who's had the dodgy done on them. A dealer's offered $1,000 for the return of a stolen Ranger Raptor. Southern Motors is offering a no questions asked reward of $1,000 for the return of a vehicle taken from its Manukau dealership on February 21. The stolen vehicle is a Conquer Grey 2019 Ford Ranger Raptor, registration MMZ170. It's fitted with dark plastic bonnet protector and monsoon shields on the window frames. Anyone with information about this missing vehicle can contact the dealership via Facebook Messenger, visit on site, or call 0274 133 222. What are the chances of that vehicle coming back?
I'd say about none. I was going to say, it'll stand out though, because it's the only Ranger on the road that's sitting on standard wheels without a lift kit, massive, great big rhubards in the front, lights across the top, and probably stickers and decals. So it should stand out.
Those are first generation Raptors on the standard wheels and tyre package. They are very cool cars.
Mm-hmm. However,
on a dry day.
Yeah.
Okay. They are they're a little squirrely in the wet. The new one, much improved.
Have we explored that? Have we?
Squirrely, but deliberately squirrely. Yeah.
But I'm going to say, to be fair, $1,000 reward for that sort of thing. And I'm not meaning to sort of catch into a business model here or anything, but $1,000, who's going to bring it back for $1,000?
Yeah.
Any sort of chance whatsoever. And that then begs a different question. Is we going to end up with vehicles being stolen to ransom? If you're going to pay out $5,000 a vehicle, and that seems to be a figure that's been bandied around for lots of higher-end stolen vehicles recently, does it just create a marketplace for vehicles stolen for ransom?
Absolutely right. So you got to kind of just go with it.
Yeah.
And I think at $1,000, what you're doing is you're avoiding the paperwork of having it written off and claiming on your insurance rather than...
I know. It's a difficult situation, and I really feel for the guys too.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than having your stuff pinched by low-life scumbags.
Yeah. Now, speaking of vehicles being borrowed, but this time for a legitimate purpose, Downer supplies utes for cyclone recovery to NZ Police. And there is a hat tip to our own industry in here, really. Look at that lineup of lovely police stickered Toyota Hiluxes. Those vehicles are not cop cars. So they were actually sitting in a fleet yard ready to go to Downers, New Zealand. And the Toyota said, well, we need more utes to help out down in the Hawke's Bay. And Downer says, great. And I gather there was quite a big effort across the industry, Signwriting, various other people, and shipping to get those cars ready to go where they are very much needed. The New Zealand Police Fleet Services Manager Brian Yanko says it came at a crucial time when police had exhausted their own supply of 4x4 vehicles to the emergency response. Within 48 hours, 20 utes were ready for deployment to the affected areas. Fitter agents Wade Group assisted with the police livery application. Meanwhile, vehicle transporter Karen Haslam responded to an urgent request and delivered 10 of the utes into the Hawke's Bay on Tuesday. No mean feat when there is not a heck of a lot of access down there.
I'm going to say that's a pretty neat gesture across the board. Yeah. And interestingly, I suppose if Downers, the Downer utes anyway, the likelihood is that in the next 2 or 3 months they'll come out of the police fleet and end up still in the Hawke's Bay with a reconstruction effort, given that Downers are a big part of that too. So, but look, top works everyone. It really is a sort of a heartwarming story, I suppose, to see how people are pulling together to try and work through the worst of these situations. And let's be honest, the Skoda Superb ain't getting much cut down there right now on the road for the police, is it?
Probably better than the old Commodores because it's four-wheel drive.
Well, there is that.
Yeah. For the safety, so they didn't just chuck plain utes on the truck. And again, good effort from Karen Haslam, because I guess to get those from Hamilton to Hastings, you would have had to go all the way down to the Manawatu and then turn around and come back up.
Or at the top way, I believe, because the road down through Opotiki.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because you can't get down from the north of Napier, you can't get through. So these guys would have been all the way up around across to Opotiki and that down on the single lane, daylight only road I believe they have now.
But that doesn't connect through to the Hastings at the bottom.
No, see, but it depends where you want them. So now the recovery effort...
Well, they've gone to Hastings. They've given us the answer. So they've had to go down.
All right, so they've gone down and back up again.
So to sort of fit them out and ship them in 48 hours.
Yeah, that's good sign writing.
Yeah. For the safety people, Downer also arranged that some of the utes will be fully trackable by satellite, while no cellular is available. And we've enabled some of the trucks with 200-litre fuel cells for emergency refuelling. There's fights for fuel down there, so that's pretty cool. So there you go. That's a truckload of police Hiluxes ready to go. Good effort by everyone involved.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I didn't think I was really turning the camera there. Good effort, people. Now, we'll end on a slightly sadder acknowledgement. Not sadder, but an interesting acknowledgement. Ill Health forces Heartland chairperson to step down immediately. Heartland Group Holdings has announced its chairperson, Jeff Ricketts, is stepping down with immediate effect for an indefinite period due to ill health. Heartland says Ricketts will still remain a director on the board. Subject to board approval, Heartland says Deputy Chairperson Greg Tomlinson will assume the role of Chairperson. The shareholder announcement to the ASX was authorised by Heartland Chief Executive Jeff Greenslade. That's an interesting one. Someone at the top of Heartland's an interesting company. It's not necessarily that acknowledged as being a big part of the trade, but it is. Behind the scenes, it funds a heck of a lot of the industry, a heck of a lot of the floor plan. A lot of the captive finance is all through what I guess you used to call Marek. They finance distributors, they finance big dealers, little dealers, and they put a lot of cars on the road. So always interesting when you see a change at the top. We wish him the best, and hopefully he's back at his desk before too long, but they've got a good team there, so hopefully we won't see...
It's not a storefront brand, is it? But it's a very well-respected, very old brand in the industry that I'd argue most dealers have a connection to somewhere along the line within their funding or their insurance or some aspect of their financial arrangements.
Yeah, I guess if you want to think about the role of Heartland in the industry, think Marek with extra steps. Yeah, Marek with reverse mortgages, basically.
Don't need those right now either. But look, it's interesting. There's a bit of an end piece for this whole thing. Is finance. It's just a tumultuous time to be a dealer right now. So we've had the rise in the OCR again this week, right at the time when the nation is obviously facing, they're talking now $15 billion repair bill for the Hawke's Bay, and you can see those numbers stacking up. We've been clobbered over the head the last 3 months about how we're entering recession, interest rate rises still to come, and yet the industry just sort of grinds on. And the really difficult part now is balancing up the infrastructure spend and what that means around inflation and the continual need to keep the financial machine for everyday lives chugging on. And what that means for us and the traders, call me a crystal ball gazer, there's not going to be that huge drop away in vehicle requirements anytime soon, because there's just this ongoing need for vehicles to supply, whether it's the rebuild, whether it's people's losses through insurance, or it's just the debris, if you like, of an industrial machine. We're going to keep on chugging for a while yet.
I think it's interesting too, in that it could have an influence on the election this year. The election this year is going to be a massive turning point for the trade, because you've got one side that'll keep clean car and one side that will tinker with it, or in fact has a large amount of play, dump the whole lot completely. But the ability to, even for national and others to do that, will come down to whether they've got the room to mess with some of these systems based on whether taxes can be cut, whether they can do certain other things, whether they can... I was having an interesting chat with someone about this today. Essentially, one of the reasons why National might keep the clean car programs in place is if they've got to do certain things to keep their seats at various tables internationally in regards to economic discussions, global issues. They've got to have some plan around climate change. Now, if they dump the clean car things, they've got to replace it with something else. Most of those other things involve taxing someone or paying for something or subsidising something. If they can't do that, then maybe they will need to keep clean car because it's technically fiscally neutral to the government. So
it's a good point, isn't it?
Yeah, this what's happening now and the cost of this could have a bearing on whether the government is in a position to drop clean car when we get further down the track. So it's it's going to be interesting. It's interesting politically.
Devil's advocate, which is at the moment, from an electorate's perspective, is a government, incoming or incumbent, going to focus on trying to remove unnecessary costs from everyday life. So you talk about inflationary issues right now. Clean car, to me, and most of the industry, appears to be an inflationary tool. It's driving up the cost of vehicles. We're already seeing that now. We saw that actually with the first round of CCD. We saw it inflate the cost of vehicles, and that hasn't gone away.
Now we know that's the real case around it. The politically justifiable angle, though, is that the system is, again, neutral across the board, and that some cars are costing less and some cars are costing more.
Same phrase. So neutral to who?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But we're not talking about what things are in reality, because government doesn't deal in reality.
No, clearly not.
We're talking about how things present out there. So I think these disasters and the damage they've done have actually... there's a fairly high chance that they will see a shift in government this year and clean car will be reduced. But I think the clock to that happening may have just gone back one tick.
Like a doomsday clock. I'm absolutely amazed that Michael Wood kept the light rail for the next 6 months. I still think that is, finding money. Let's just find money from somewhere, anywhere at all. I'm gobsmacked they've kept that and haven't actually just put that on the back burner and said, look, you know what, we'll just wait till after the election, wait till after the rebuild. This can wait. Just given the scale of money involved in that. Whether you agree with the light rail concept long term or not.
Just become a third world African country and let the Chinese build it for profit and control.
Seemed to work. Nothing could go wrong there, could it? I mean...
No. I'm not saying anything would go wrong.
Let's not get political on that one, shall we?
We're not particularly good at building them, but they seem good at building train sets.
We suck at building stuff.
Exactly. Let others do it. I mean, let's not talk about the freaking Warkworth motorway, which from everyone's view seems to be entirely finished but closed because the government can't agree with what they're going to pay them over the COVID delays. Someone will work it out. Anyway.
It's your rant for the day.
Yes, exactly. Look, thank you everyone for joining us. A little bit of a shorter one than usual, but that's all good. We will be back again next week with another AutoTalk Weekly Wrap.
And hopefully some good news.
Yes. Well, hopefully without another cyclone hitting.
Yeah, it's a bit shitty here in Auckland today. If you're watching from down country,
Yeah.
Auckland's not a great place to be right now, and some other regions experiencing some issues. But
Yeah,
so hope you have a good weekend weather-wise, and that your remaining stock that you have, you can eke out to your customers.
And don't go looking at the long-range maritime forecast.
No, it sucks.
No.